Robert Martin was known as a pillar of the community in the small town of Crestwood. A successful businessman, an active member of his church, and a loving family man, or so everyone thought. People admired his generosity and charisma. He was the type of man who donated to local charities, mentored troubled youth, and spoke eloquently about family values during Sunday sermons. But behind closed doors, the reality was very different. Jessica, Robert's wife of 15 years, had once been full of life and dreams. She met Robert in college, where his charm and ambition swept her off her feet. He was magnetic, confident and kind, with an uncanny ability to make everyone feel seen and valued. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever met," he had whispered to her at the end of their first date. She believed she had found the man who would love and support her through anything. In the early years, he was attentive and supportive, even encouraging her to pursue a career in photography. However, after they married, things began to change. Slowly, Robert started undermining her ambitions. "Why would you need to work? I can take care of us," he'd say with a smile. He insisted on managing the finances, claiming it was easier if he handled everything. Jessica, busy with the baby, didn't argue. She trusted him as she would think he was being considerate, but over time, she realized his words weren't about love. Robert was a master of subtle control. At times, it was small criticisms, disguised as jokes. "You're really wearing that," he'd say when Jessica dressed for dinner. Robert didn't want Jessica spending too much time with her friends, claiming he missed her when she was gone. They had 3 children, Emily, 12, Noah, 10, and Sophia, 6. To the outside world, they were a perfect family. Robert attended every school play and proudly displayed his children's achievements on social media. But at home, he was a tyrant. It was subtle at first. He began questioning Jessica's decisions, making her feel inadequate. When Emily wanted to join a dance class, Jessica suggested they save up for it. Robert scoffed, "What's the point? She'll quit after a few months like you always do." When Jessica supported Noah into joining swimming lessons, Robert dismissed the idea, saying, "He is too weak for that sport anyway." Jessica would brush it off, telling herself he was stressed from work. But the comments became more frequent, cutting deeper each time. Robert's mood swings became more pronounced. One moment he'd be affectionate, the next, he'd lash out over a misplaced item or an innocent mistake by one of the kids. When Noah accidentally spilled juice on the living room carpet, Robert erupted. "You're as careless as your mother," he yelled, towering over the boy. Noah froze, tears streaming down his face. Jessica stepped in, pulling her son into her arms. "It was just an accident, Robert," she said, her voice shaking. But Robert's glare silenced her. Jessica tried to shield the children from his harsh words, but it was exhausting. Sometimes when he was angry, GE would slam doors, punched walls or throw objects, making everyone very uncomfortable in the house. Robert's anger was unpredictable. One day he'd shower the kids with gifts, and the next, he'd lash out over the smallest mistake. Robert weaponized religion to tighten his grip. At church he was the first to volunteer for charity drives, always with Jessica by his side, smiling on command. He loved to quote scripture, especially passages about family and obedience. He would lead Bible study groups and giving talks on marriage. He used his knowledge of scripture to manipulate Jessica. "The Bible says a wife should submit to her husband," he'd say when she disagreed with him. When she tried to confide in a church elder, Robert found out and turned the narrative against her. "Jessica's been struggling with her faith lately," he told them. "Please pray for my wife." The church elders, who respected Robert, took his side as he would disagree that he said the things Jessica is accusing her of, even if he remembers very well that he did. Jessica felt increasingly isolated and defeated, questioning her own sanity. "You are just too sensitive, Jess," he would add. Jessica eventually stopped pursuing her photography, as Robert insisted it wasn't profitable enough. "Honey, wouldn't it be better if you focus on the kids?" He would be in control of their finances, giving her a small allowance for groceries and questioning every expense. "Honey, 2 eggs are way too much for a woman who still needs to keep her figure." How will those church people look at you when you're out of shape and looking fat? She then suggested getting a part-time job. He laughed, haha, why would I let my wife work? That's embarrassing for me. One day she saved a little portion of money from the grocery budget so she could buy Noah a birthday gift. Robert found out and got very angry, holding her tight by the hand. Are you stealing from me now? And then took the money away. Jessica started getting tired of all the toxicity in the house and suggested counseling. Haha, we can't rely on strangers to solve our problems. Honey, just pray harder and God will answer our prayers. Jessica had no access to their bank accounts, no credit card in her name, and no savings of her own. Every purchase had to be approved by Robert. He would decide what she should wear and whom to talk to on her phone. And when she spent too much time on the phone talking to a relative or a friend, he would accuse her of gossiping. Why waste time gossiping when there's a house to clean, he would say. In public, Robert was the epitome of a loving husband. He held Jessica's hand at church, kissed her cheek at community events, and spoke glowingly about his family. He often told stories about how supportive Jessica was, painting a picture of a perfect marriage. Jessica hated these moments the most. Sitting next to him, smiling for the cameras, knowing it was all a lie. But poor Jessica became an expert at hiding her pain. She learned to plaster on a smile, nod at Robert's jokes, and laugh when he told stories about their wonderful life. But inside, she was breaking. He liked playing the happy family part in public. He would ruffle Noah's hair and lift Sophia into his arms, spinning her around as she giggled and often kissing Jessica's cheek. Jessica hated these moments. She felt like a puppet, forced to play her part in Robert's constructed narrative. And if Jessica ever seemed upset in public, Robert would brush it off with a smile. Jess is just stressed, raising 3 kids isn't easy, he'd say, earning nods of sympathy from others. One day, these stars confusing his children. Also that Emily one day asked her mother with a face of concern, "Mommy, why is Daddy nice to everyone except us?" One evening, after a particularly brutal argument where Robert called her ungrateful and a stupid in front of the children, Jessica locked herself in the bathroom and sobbed. Emily knocked on the door and whispered, "Mom, are you okay?" Hearing the worry in her daughter's voice, Jessica realized she couldn't let this continue. Her children were growing up in a toxic environment, and if she didn't act, they might carry this pain into their own lives. Jessica began to take small steps. She reconnected with Rachel, her old college friend, who lived an hour away. "Jess, I always wondered why you stopped calling," Rachel said when they finally spoke. Jessica hesitated, then poured out the truth onto her friend. She has been carrying a lot in her chest after all. Rachel didn't judge. Instead, she offered support. "You don't have to do this alone," she said. The two started planning an escape plan for Jess as they had to be careful so Robert does not harm Jessica and other kids while trying to escape. Guys, this is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning of doom. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and get the full story on part 2. Thank you for watching.